You're listening to Blue Monday here on the Blue Room. It's a typical Blue Monday, but this week it isn't, as Matt Jones, after 3 weeks, decided to get off. So people would say a replacement, but I class him as a better broadcaster. I've got Les Roberts with me here. And me and Les don't normally talk so seriously as we are, Les. I know we do post-match and all that together, but generally where we meet together more often is mailbag, which if you haven't heard it so far, either get on, if you're a subscriber, get on to our Patreon account or go and watch it on YouTube, because I have to say, Les, we're not selling it like we were with an advert here, but that was probably one of the funniest shows we've ever done.
Yeah, I think yesterday's was definitely the most ridiculous one we've done. It was very limited on Everton chat. I think the only question was like about if you've ever missed an Everton game because of a hangover. That was the only Everton bit we spoke about. Which, you know, it's kind of what mailbag's for. If non-Everton nonsense is your thing, give it a go. Also, not sure about the compliments I had him at there. He's a very good broadcaster. I mean, you don't have to say stuff like that to keep me sweet.
Well, no, I was more taking the piss out of him just to make sure he's been listening when he couldn't do today's ones. You know what I mean?
That's a good chat. Do you know what? I used to do this with Matt years ago before COVID. We started doing this Blue Monday. We'd meet in town and do it like in person, which was dead nice. But then it all stopped, didn't it, because of COVID? And then,
well, do you know what, mate? It shows you his thoughts on me. The fact that we've never met up to do this. He's more than happy just to sit in his house and do it. He can't be asked coming out to see me in town. So says it all, really. Do you know what? I once got a message. This isn't too long ago, actually. I think it was towards this time of last year, saying, Dave, you need to stop saying nice stuff about people you do that Blue Room with. You know, it was like, what, you want me to criticize them? You want me to kick off on them and things like that? But yeah, like you say, mate, Matt is the heart and centre of the broadcasting side of things. Certainly much better than I've ever been, even though I've tried to make a career in it. You know what I mean? That's why I'm more a producer than I am a broadcaster. But there we go. But starting this week, obviously you didn't do post match, so I want to get your take on how things happened away at Forest. Now, go and win that game 1-0. I felt like it was well deserved win for the start, but that's probably the best performance I've seen this season. And you know what? I've been thinking the past couple of days, well, certainly since Saturday after the game, I've been thinking, have I gone a bit too far to say in 14 games that's the best of, well, 16 games, that's the best I've seen us play. But I can't really argue that point or that comment to think that was what you want to see an Everton performance from when we're up against the wall. Point deductions and all that, which I don't really want to get into because we've hammered it in the last week or so. But the way we played there, that was a proper Everton performance. And by an Everton performance, I mean, you'll have loads of people screaming about dogs of war and stuff like that. But a Sean Dyche side didn't look too different to that, even when he was back at Burnley and keeping them in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think I think James Garner getting man of the match kind of summed it all up, because it's probably one of the early games where we've really got a hold of the midfield and controlled it from there. In the past we tried to get out wide to the wingers. That's been the sort of the main way we attack, or we hit it long or something. But I thought against Forest, which I was surprised by actually, because I thought they had Sangar in the middle, didn't they? And Gibbs White's a good midfielder, although he plays a little bit further forward. I thought we might be in for a bit of a tough time there, but we ran the show from midfield, and it made such a difference to see us playing like that. There was still the odd sort of straight pass. I mean, you're going to get that from Decore every week, aren't you? His first touch is brilliant and his second touch isn't, or his first touch is a goal, and that's kind of what you get from him. But yeah, I think that was the big difference, that we controlled the midfield for that game, and it really sort of knits the whole team together then, doesn't it? And it makes it a really satisfying performance. I thought Forest were dreadful apart from like the first 7 or 8 minutes.
But the important thing on that, let's sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that was more the case that we made them look shite, or it was the case that they were poor? The manager looks like he's going to be on his way out as well.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because they started really quite brightly, and they had a couple of decent attacks in the first few minutes. And I thought after United, oh God, here we go. We're going to be back in that rut as we were against United, but they didn't score the early goal. And then after about 7 or 8 minutes, we sort of like got control of the game. And yeah, we just controlled the whole thing. And it's, you look at the fixtures coming up, and that is a vital 3 points. I know we're 18th, aren't we now? We can start looking up a little bit.
Oh, 7. Oh, yeah, we're 18th. Sorry, yeah, we're 1 point.
Yeah, but when
2 points behind, aren't we, Luton?
Yeah, but when you see what's coming up, I mean, you look at the other three teams, to be honest, and there's no reason why they should win any of the games in December either. Even if we don't, I think we'll still be thereabouts. But it's a weird one, isn't it? Because we've got Newcastle, which is going to be dead hard, but then we've got Chelsea, which is just, we should be capable of beating them. Without, I don't want to go on about the 10 points thing, but without that 10-point deduction, I think we'd be ahead of them now, wouldn't we? In the table. So
10th to 11th, yeah.
So they are a bog average mid-table team, albeit with players who can do some damage, because they have got good players. They're just not performing very well as a team. So I think you look at that one, and we really should get something from that. But the Forest game has really given us sort of room to breathe now, because I think we spoke after United, didn't we? And it was a bit like the 10 points was suddenly looking like a massive thing after the bravado of all week, sort of saying, you know what, we're going to be sound here. There's 3 teams worse than us. We're on a good run. And then that happens at United, where they scored with 3 goals in 4 shots. It was a bit like, oh, okay, this might be a little bit difficult, but it still is going to be. But that result has given me the sort of the confidence that we can drag ourselves out of it, because all told, the United result isn't the type of result that's going to affect us this season. I don't want to talk about expected defeat, but we will probably get beat by City, United, Liverpool, the rest of that lot.
Yeah.
It's games like Forest and Forest away in particular where we need to pick up points. So if we can pick up those points at those teams away, it comes down to the home form again then, doesn't it? That's what we need to sort out.
Yeah, that is still a big issue for me, and it's annoyed me a lot, Les, because I've been banging on about possessional stats and all that sort of thing when we've gone away. If you want any of that sort of thing, Mike Greenhalgh does it every single day, and it's a brilliant read if you're into all that, which I like the stats from it, but I know a lot of people delve a little bit deeper, and Mike's one of them, and he's brilliant statistically and all that stuff, so go and have a look at him if you're interested in that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I've felt since the start we looked much more comfortable away from home, and I'm still being it's a bit of a weird sort of philosophy I've got with this, because sometimes I look at it and I think, the simple thing you think of is everything's a bit more comfortable away from home because you've only got 2,000, 3,000 Evertonians rather than 37, 38,000 absolutely screaming you to start passing the ball a bit more, or if you've missed a chance, or you've missed past it or put the ball out of play, people get hell at Goodison when we're not playing well. That's an issue we've had at Goodison. I think, just to be honest about it, as much as being a Goodison, we could turn it into a fortress. We know what we've done in the past, the bear pit type of thing that people talk about. That seems miles and miles away from us being able to do that, Les. And now, when we're playing away from home, it does look like the shackles are off. Everton, the way in which they're able to play. Watching this one surprised me a lot because, like I said, I think it was the best performance we've had all season. It was the best performance in terms of controlling the ball, controlling the game. We weren't just... If you think of an Everton 1-0 defeat, if you didn't see that game and you're just a neutral supporter at any other club and you say Everton won 1-0, you'd think you'd look at something like Forest had 70% possession, had 15 to 20 shots on goal. Everton took the lead by surprise, going up the other end on 3 or 4 occasions, and just sat back and tried to fight right till the death to keep them out. That game wasn't like that at all. It was. I can't think back to a chance they actually had. I think one was blasted across goal, and
there was Gibbs White again in the first half. That was about it, I think.
Yeah, that's it. And then towards the end,
there was the tackle Pickford did.
That was amazing.
Tell you what, any centre half would have been happy with that tackle.
Yeah. Do you know what? When he started sprinting out, I thought, no, don't do it. Please don't do it. But he's going to two foot and get sent off, and it'd be a pen with Beto in goal or something.
It was the Van Dijk challenge, but he just, the other
nailed it. Absolutely nails it.
Matt Lusk said this to me actually. He said it was the Van Dijk challenge, but the attacker had the good sense to kind of get out the way, whereas Van Dijk didn't. It was his own fault.
Well, probably not good sense by the player because he goes down. He probably win a pen or a free kick in
Yeah,
that
true.
part, but he nails it. Absolutely nails it. And yeah, I think looking at that game, you'd have to convince somebody to watch it if they thought that Everton didn't deserve to win it. And when we had the ball, it was much more crisp. It was trying to get the ball out to Harrison. I've had a lot of issues with Harrison. I know the supporters have as well. Many in which the friends of ours have been like, this lad's no good for us. I don't know how he's still getting a game on the wing. He was receiving it a hell of a lot. He puts that ball in for McNeil to score. Terrific move when you look at it. When the 1-2 he plays with Garner, by the way,
Yeah,
Garner's ball passed to him. I don't think many people have mentioned this, but it's so beautifully weighted that he can just walk into it and put his right
yeah.
foot through it. It's not one of them where he has to get to the byline or he has to check back. It's just perfectly put in his line to get it across. And then the dummy by Beto was absolutely world class.
It was almost Davy Klassen like, wasn't it? That.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? When we missed that chance, mate, I'm not joking. I was ready to throw my telly out the fucking front room because it comes to him. And look, I have sympathy with that, and I know a lot of people have said this, to have sympathy with somebody who's trying so hard.
Yeah.
But at some point, you lose your tether with that and think he's just not going to make it. This fella, and I'm still not in that place to say that yet. But I don't know. Sometimes he looks like. Do you remember Paulo One Shot?
Yeah.
He reminds me of him so much. Yeah,
Was he at City as well?
Yeah, he was at City as well. Yeah, and he's the exact same sort of body shape as him. And the ridiculous stuff you'd see from him would be like, he looked like most of the time he looked like he won a competition to play for Derby County.
Yeah.
But other times he'd receive the ball, and it's almost like his head would fall off, so he didn't know what he was doing. But he'd skin about 4 or 5 and score a wonderful goal. And I look at Beto and think, yeah, that's probably his type. I'd love it if it was his type, but that's not the time you want to play like that for Everton. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it showed me so much that we missed Calvert-Lewin. We'd be on here fuming about that had we only taken a point or lost that game. We'd be like, where's Dom gone? You know, we badly needed them to play. The fact we've gone and won 1-0, people are not going to really be talking like we are about Beto. Do you know what I mean? But the chance he misses, Les, was criminal.
Yeah.
Because when it drops out to him and he's near the pen box and he's got, I think he had Harrison right by him. He had
Corey was right by him.
Corey right by him. And the pair of them who could have took it themselves just stop. And it's almost like they turned around and said, "Come on, lads," or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's come forward and he's fair enough. Look, if he mishits it, it goes in. If he scuffs it, it goes in. Because there's an open goal just slightly to his right.
Yeah.
But he decides to try and blast it in the top corner. And it goes like into the car park. And mate, honestly, I was sitting there saying, how many times have you done it as well, particularly this season? That's it. Game's done now. That is it. That one moment that doesn't happen, I'll get off now because nothing's going to change when you're doing something like that.
Well, yeah, there was that, and there was the McNeil one cleared off the line, and then that's when you start thinking, isn't it? It's not going to happen here, but yeah, that chance. I mean, I'll be prepared to give him the season, to be honest, because for a full season, I didn't even, as I said, I wasn't even convinced that Mikalenko was right-footed. Now he's been our player of the season, I think, this season.
Yeah,
been outstanding. So it does kind of show that you've got to give these players time to bed in, and thankfully, up until now, we've not been relying on Beto. I think that could be an issue if Calvert-Lewin's out again and we need to rely on him for a run of games. I don't know. He might come in and he might be great. He might need a run of games. But you look at misses like that, and it's got to be scoring that. You can see where he tried to hit it to get it round those two players and sort of get it over maybe the defender if he stuck his leg out. But you can't be skying it from there. He's got to be finishing that, because that view from behind was like so telling, wasn't it? About sort of how well he connected with it, because he properly connected with it, didn't he? As you say, had he scuffed it, it probably bobbles in. But he does feel like one of those players who just needs a bit of a break when he's on, because he does run tirelessly. He's going to be no worse than Dennis Stracqualesi. I'll put that out there now.
I don't know, mate. I don't know that. We've got Chelsea coming up at home, and he backed against them, didn't he, all those years ago?
That's the test.
But yeah, I mean, it is harsh what we're talking about with him, and obviously we'll get on to the more positive subjects to talk about in a sec. But he's needed. He's absolutely needed, and you know that is probably wrong for us to be sitting here making a bit of fun of him. But you're right. I think you do give somebody like that a full year because the lad's quick. He is lightning quick. I remember the conversation we had with me and Matt had with the Italian journalists who were talking about him.
Yeah,
Knew him quite well, and they were like, his first touch is not that good. You know, he can't really control the ball as well as others. But if he's running in behind somebody, or if you're knocking over the top of another side, he will win the ball.
Yeah,
he's got all the the sort of typical types you think when a big lad. Was he 6'4", 6'5", won a few headers and all that sort of thing. I think it's really easy as well, and I've done it, where you think, oh mate, we've got to pay. We still haven't paid any of it. 30 million quid for this fella, you know. But you know, he's that type, like I said there about one shot, he's that type who'll score you a crucial goal at some point and you'll think, where's that come from? You know?
yeah.
I'm impressed with his attitude as well. When he comes on, he looks desperate to play all the time. He looks so desperate to be involved in everything he does. That goal against Doncaster was actually a really good finish, ironically. But away from him, Les, the way in which you mentioned...
Sorry, Dave, just quickly one more thing on him. I think the important thing with him, with Beto, is that we can't just drop him in and he's a like-for-like with Calvert-Lewin. Because we saw when we didn't have him and we were playing Mopé, it just doesn't work because you're still trying to play that way, but without the big lad up front. So I think that's the important thing with him, that we don't, although he's not got the quality of Dom, he's not going to score the goals that he does.
Yeah.
It's still the same system with the same sort of players, so we don't suffer too much. So I think that's the important thing, isn't it?
I think that's spot on. He's less of a headache than what you'd expect putting on a different striker to someone who's injured would be. I think that's less of a headache for Dijkstad really as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you mentioned his name there, and he's been my player of the season so far, and it's Mykolenko. And he starts to look like a top-class left. I say starting to. The lad's a left-back by trade. That's why we got him. Let's not forget that. But to go from, and look, I do sound like a broken record with this, but you think about the troubles he's had with what's going on in his country. The lad looks like he's completely lost when he first came in. I go as far as towards the latter end of last season until he scored that goal against Leicester. And since then, and I'd love to find out how it's become this situation with him, whether it's been there's a few lads having a chat with them, involving them in their lives. And, you know, we think about these as robots, but after games, after training, what does he go and do? Goes round and has a game of snooker with one of the lads. Something like that, game of golf, whatever it is. The simplicities in itself. Maybe Dice himself give him a bit of work, or one of the coaching staff. But something's dropped for him. The penny has dropped for that lad, and it's noticeable every time. I think back strangely to the derby at their place. He kept Salah in his arse pocket, which is a strange thing to say because people will say, hang on, Salah's gone and scored 2 goals for them there when they won 2-0. Mykolenko had nothing to do with that.
That simple, was it?
Absolutely nothing to do with that. But when I think the criticism of McNeil, which I'm glad Pete McFarlane isn't listening to this, or he might well do in the end and start complaining. But the issue I've had, and I think many more so with Harrison, is how they track back and help with whoever's playing right back and whoever's playing left back. Ashley Young obviously needs it more than anybody else. He needs another man alongside him if anybody's coming forward. I can't imagine any team that we've played have said, oh, you know, the words have always contained Ashley Young and what they're trying to do, because he's such a weak link to us. You know, the other day was probably his best game and he was barely involved in it. You know what I mean? That says as far as you probably talk about him. But with Mykolenko, I'd love to see a little bit of a partnership, because McNeil's fine at getting back. The one thing I wouldn't throw criticism at, he does get back. He likes to he's got an engine on him, and that'll help Mykolenko. But I tell you what, looking at that against Forest, every time we had an attack, every time we got into the final third, he was there. He was there, and that wasn't in a coincidence with thinking, well, they've got nothing going the other way. He has a confidence in his mind that if I'm involved in an attack, if I've got the ball, it's not the case I'm going to be missing it or hitting a bad cross or just laying it off to someone in midfield. It's the confidence of being involved with that. Like top left backs do that. And you go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think it could have been like a simplification of his role because I know he's a professional footballer and it's like you should know what you're doing as like a early 20s professional footballer, but it can be confusing as a fullback if you're playing in a system you're not sure about whether you get forward or you stay back, and sometimes you get caught in the middle. And I thought that was a problem for him. He never looked comfortable going forward. He'd always cut inside. He'd never like take the route to sort of overlap. And I think the first bit of this season, I think he was simplified in the fact that he just defended really well. And that's the first part of being a fullback. For me, anyway, you've got to be a defender first and foremost. The rest is a nice to have, and that's what he was. But as you're saying, you particularly look at the Palace game where he scores in like the first minute, and there's 5 Everton players in the box, and he's one of them. I think it's been built on. So now he's like, well, do you know what? I can get forward because he knows McNeil will cover him, and that's what you need in a good sort of wing partnership. You need the winger and the fullback to be on the same level, so that if that fullback goes forward, the winger either knows to drop in or tell a midfielder to drop in. So there's always that cover. And I think that's growing in his game now. He's getting like a bit of an appetite for it, for getting forward, making the overlapping run. And that's what we're missing on the right-hand side. I think so. With Harrison, I thought he stumped the gaff out the last 2 games, to be honest. But whereas he's helping to track back, he's not getting the same from Ashley Young going forward. So he's not getting the overlapping run, which sort of leaves you as a winger. Then you're probably going to be 2-on-1 because you're going to have the fullback on you. The midfielder will probably just come across because the fullback doesn't have to track anyone. So you got the 2 of them on you. And I think that's a big problem. You saw when the in-ball was there for Harrison to Garner, he did the 1-2. Now, you should be able to do that with your fullback and your winger as well. And he's not getting that. So as much as I don't think he's played particularly well, there are some sort of mitigating circumstances, and that obviously being Ashley Young again. I don't want us to keep going on about. It's not his fault he's getting picked. And as you say, he did all right at the weekend. But you just think the more it goes on, he's going to get targeted. Newcastle on Thursday will pinpoint him with Anthony Gordon, and it's like it's all set up for an early red card again, isn't it?
No, mate. Eddie Howe must that be the first thing he's wrote down looking at this game?
Yeah,
because he's got this little twat coming back to us, isn't he? And I don't know. Someone put out on Twitter, don't you seen it this afternoon, where it showed you when they came and battered us last season. He was playing in that horrible kit he had, and he's walking down. He's walking, no, but after the game, he's walking down and he's going like that, celebrating and all that. And I thought, players have had to leave us for many reasons in the past. You look at Richarlison. We played Spurs when Richarlison played against us, and he just cracked on, just put his head down and carried on. Yeah. You know what I mean? It shows you a lot more about somebody if you do that compared to what Anthony Gordon's done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a dead weird one for me because that move kind of suited everyone. We got 40 million that we never thought we'd get for him. And it was all in one go, I think, as well, wasn't it? Or most of it was.
Don't think we've seen it, though.
No, God, no. It's not the same way as the Arteta money. He got a move that he wanted. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
I can't stand him, so I can see why he gets stick.
Yeah, but this might sound bad when people are listening about this, but yeah, what you've just said there is spot on. You say that to any other player and you think, well, not so much as good luck to them, but see you later, lad. That's it. Whereas this felt like it was a lot more personal than when it happened. It wasn't. No, well, that's it. Yeah, I think that's got a lot to do with it that it's Newcastle he's gone to. But in many ways, it's given us a favour to get that 40 million. Now, look, that's the kiss of death for playing them on Thursday because you're thinking he's going to go and rip us apart. Yeah, he's looked really good for them this season.
He has.
Say that through gritted teeth. He has looked great for them. Now, that, like you say, I'd rather put Harrison and Young at a joint right back and not have them cross the halfway line against him, to be honest with you. Because he'll be well up for that. I mean, when I seen him go to Newcastle, I thought, I'm not too asked about that because he looks like a bit of a shithouse. Doesn't look like he's going to get heavily involved until somebody gives him the ball. With them, no. And again, through gritted teeth, he's looked really, really good. He did the other night against Man United, and looks like he's the business for them. And it is strange the mentality you have with players when they leave, isn't it? Because you compare that to Richarlison, and you've got one that was a born Evertonian, and you've got one that came to us from Brazil, from Watford, never had any, probably hadn't even heard of Everton until he came in for him. Comes to us and does everything you want to see with commitment, and that's pretty much an Everton way, isn't it? You come in there, you just take to the fans, and it felt really natural that he did that.
Yeah.
And the idea is with someone like Gordon, it's like, oh, we're playing shit. I can't wait to get out of here. That's why people are looking at him like a bit of a shitbag.
Yeah, that's what it was. He stopped training and that, didn't he?
Yeah.
And yeah, he sort of forced his way out, which, as I said, it was probably the best move for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
It's the way the player goes about it, isn't it? I mean, the Richarlison one, that was pretty much forced on us, wasn't it? You can see that now by the fact that in the sort of Premier League inquiry, we were expecting 80 million for him, which was about what we should have got for him.
Yeah.
But the Premier League gave Spurs every card they could have wanted for them to say, well, we'll give you 60 million because you need to sell them by the 30th of June. And if you don't, you fuck. So that was, we basically lost 20 million there because the Premier League forced our hand, or showed Spurs our hand, basically. And, and that's the way the player left. So it wasn't anything to do with him. He wasn't agitating for a move or anything like that. And that was forced upon us. But with Gordon, he was agitating for the move.
Well, I mean, with Richarlison, he might well have been screaming for it, but he was clever about it.
Yeah.
Or the club was clever, and Spurs, because it was done like, on his Instagram, he's saying goodbye, Everton, I'd always love you, and all that sort of sentimental stuff that loads of our fans like. That's the easy way you go and do a move. If you're Anthony Gordon, you played that smart, it'd be, you try and push it towards, without saying it, Everton desperately need the money, so that's why I've got to go.
Yeah.
Type of thing. We've done that with Rooney when Rooney was a baby, when he goes to Man United. It's like 30 million. You can't argue with getting 30 million, even though within a week of him being there, we probably should have got 100 million for him. That's something else to discuss at a different time. But yeah, I think moving on to Newcastle and this conundrum that we've got with the home form. I don't know what it is. I keep on, bouncing a little bit from different thoughts on this, Les, with us playing at Goodison here. I think, like, in my mind, if you start the bottom of the debate with it, us at Goodison, when we're in a relegation fight, which we have been for the last 3 years, which is devastating as it is, I often think back to when this was the case. Certainly in Moyes' second season, when we finished with 39 points, I think we still stayed up because City were that crap. But particularly
City finished ahead of us.
Oh, that's right, they did.
That was when City beat us 5-0 on the last day and finished.
And I think we finished.
They finished. I think
we finished 37. We finished with 37 points. They finished with 39. I was like, I remember that season West Ham went down with like 45 or something.
Yeah, I think the worst one's Palace went down on 48.
Unbelievable.
I think that was 92, 93 maybe. And I think the difference between the top relegation spot and about 6th was 10 points.
Oh,
it was something
quite ironic number to mention there, mate. Eh?
Christ, yeah.
we've got to play them again as well in the cup, haven't we? But we're going back to the point there with how things plan out with this. I was thinking back, obviously, to 94, 95, it's like our most infamous one, wasn't it? And then you look at what happened with Kendall's third time with us.
Yeah.
I think each of those occasions, the Goodison was the reason why we stayed up. Us at Goodison kept us up, particularly in the last game against Coventry and all that, and Wimbledon, where we're screaming at it. Goodison's as you want Goodison to be in every game. Obviously, you're only human beings. It's not like that every game. This is, I think, in the last couple of years, it's been, in general, and I'm not saying this when you look at the Bournemouth game last season. I'm not saying it when you look at the Palace last minute winner. up from Calvert-Lewin. I'm not looking at those two specifically, but I don't think Goodison's been the same as they were in those previous years where we've needed points at home, not just to stay up on one particular occasion, but throughout the season because we've been that bad away from home. He is a little bit more ironic than that because we're doing really well away from home. I'm not saying there's assumptions or there's, oh, well, we'll be all right anyway, even if we don't win these home games. I don't think anyone's thinking like that, but the way it is, the way in which we play is a big deal that I've got in my mind there. If they go and play like they did at Forest, I'm not just saying that in a conventional sense that you'll win the game playing well, because if you play, you can play well and lose to Newcastle. They're a top side now again. It's to say that, but if you go and play like we did against Forest, we had more possession, dominated possession, add a form of play that was constant. It felt like there was a rhythm to it. You go and do that at home, that's when you get Goodison back to where it was. Because go back to that fella who was shouting at me and someone else in the main stand who was shouting at me saying, "I'm not coming back to watch this." When we were 1-0 up against Brighton, he's saying, "I'm not going back to watch this." I'm like, mate, look at the table, look at the points, look at the scoreline. Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not paying money to watch this though, because we scored a goal and basically all sat back on the 18-yard line." I'm like, well, what do you want? But I still think that, do you know what? I think that there's a lot more people that anyone think that you'd imagine that they have that kind of view at home, because
it's
there's a thing where you're paying 40, 50 quid to go to a game and you're thinking, I know we're winning 1-0, but I want a little bit more as a working class person to go to a game and think, this is shite. I've thrown in all my hard work and money here and I'm watching Everton, even if they win 1-0. I'm going home and thinking, yeah, we won 1-0 and that was it. I think the difference now is it's that crucial for us to get those 1 point and 3 points, regardless of how we play.
Yeah, I mean, I've never ever been bothered with how a team plays so long as it wins. I honestly don't care. I know it can be a little bit grim if you're playing crap, but you win what you like, spawn a 1-0 when you walk out of that ground happy.
Especially right now as well.
Yeah, and that, so I always find this style of play thing a little bit weird because I've never gone to a football match to be entertained. I've not. I don't watch football to be entertained. I don't watch football. I watch Everton. That's it. I don't like. I've got no interest in it outside of Everton and obviously the kids' team. That's it. So I don't look at it as like I'm going to go there. I'm going to get entertained. I want to see good flowing football. I genuinely don't care. I want to see them win. That's it. And I think the baseline for me, and this is what we need to do against Newcastle, is it's cliched now. It does me head in, but it is get some early tackles in, get some early shots off, get the crowd up. Because if it goes past 10 minutes and none of those things have happened, that's when it starts going flat. And if you let a team like Newcastle get a hold on the ball, they'll be able to pass it around us all day. They just will. We need to be. We probably need to treat this like an away game, not necessarily the Forest one, but other away games where we're not having much of the possession, but we are closing down and we're restricting them to maybe long shots and stuff like that. I think that's how we've got to play this one. And yeah, as you say, the position we're in, there's no right to be asking for really nice football. That's something that can maybe come if you ever get like top half of the table and you're quite comfortable in that top half of the table, then you move on. But then you look at teams like Stoke who tried to do that. They were top half of the table with Tony Pulis or thereabouts. They were fine. Do you know what? We need a better style of football. They were down like a season later and they probably won't for a while. So I'm not saying be careful what you wish for there, but I just think nice free-flowing football isn't the be-all and end-all of things. And also, it's very subjective as well. There will have been people who loved Roberto Martinez football, love all that passing it around the back, patient build-up. I can't stand it. It's dull. And it is all very subjective, but I don't think we should be getting hung up on how we're playing at home if we get results. If we're not getting results, that's fine, because something needs to change, obviously, doesn't it? But I think
it's still not necessarily that, though, even if it did.
Yeah, but I think if there's games like Brighton, it's fine.
Yeah.
We get a draw at home against Brighton. They're a good side. We were 1-0 up, but for like that really spawny goal towards the end, that was a decent performance in the scheme of things, really. It was for me anyway. Obviously can't speak for everyone, but I just think, yeah, let's not get hung up on how we play against Newcastle. We just need to, I don't know, be effective against them, or as effective as we can be, because we're not going to pass them off the park. It's not going to be like Forest.
Yeah. But it's really interesting. I think you're spot on what you said there. But it's a mentality thing for fans, most fans, I guess, and include myself in that, where you're twixt in between how Everton should go for things. If we're playing a home game against the side, so for instance, go back to that Luton game. We should be beating Luton at home.
Yeah.
Regardless what situation in, we should be beating Luton at home. We didn't. We're trying to play with more of the ball. We're trying to score goals, which doesn't look a typical Everton side. Certainly not under Sean Dyche anyway. I'm not trying to stereotype him, but there's a certain way he likes to play that's more effective with the type of side that we've got. Because, like, you go back to Martinez. Can you imagine Martinez having this squad that we've got now? And he's trying to do it. Something, the ball wouldn't even be kept on the pitch that often at Goodison, do you know what I mean? And those days where, we'd end up with 80% possession at Goodison, still not win a game, and we'd all be fuming walking out and going down County Road. It's a really strange mentality that a lot of people have. And I go back to that fella who I spoke to saying, I'm not coming back to this. I'm like, all right, mate, fair enough. It's not the best, it's not great, is it, in terms of financial conditions for everybody these days, but if you've bought your season ticket, mate, I wouldn't be thinking that, I can't watch this because Everton aren't playing well. That'd be the last of my concerns. The first of it is getting those points on the board. You look at who we're playing against as well, and that's why I like having Sean Dyche. I mean, I'll admit it, when he first came in, I thought, what we do? We desperately need to get rid of Lampard. He came in, I thought, well, and I think this is where the problem is. Initially, when he came in, there's a stereotype to him and how he plays. When he first came in, I was like, this is going to be shite watching this. And I put that ahead of, to be honest, again, I put that ahead of thinking he's the main man we need right now to get as much points as we possibly can. Hindsight, you go back, what is it now? 18 months. You go back that long and you think, I couldn't see anybody else to come in with this gang of players that we've got, which we all thought at some point were a gang of shithouses. You couldn't bring anybody else in. It was more appropriate to try and get this sorted. And again, at the time, myself, so many other fans were fuming, absolutely fuming that it was him. So yeah, that perspective hasn't been kept, and I think many of us are guilty of not keeping perspective in your mind when you see the way we play. And you look forward to Newcastle at home. There's going to be, you've had another boost by winning that game away at Forest. Then you got Newcastle at home with Gordon. Dare to say it, but this is right into the way, the realm that Everton fans want, is having these at home, as good as they are, and they battered us. What was it, 5-1 last year, whatever it was.
Horrible, that one.
That Isaac just ran. Michael Keane was playing. Isaac just decided to think he was a ghost and ran past them on the byline. I'd touch wood, I don't think we'll see any of that. But you go into this like the 2000 that we had going to Forest. I know it's hard for every club to explain. Les, we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but you think of away games. Remember when we went down to Spurs?
Yeah.
It was that season at Spurs, and then he just opened up their ground. Yeah. And because of the way in which, and I think we're doing the same at the new place, by the way, the way in which they had the away fans sort of in the corner, but it was a tall thing. So you can see why they're doing it, because if you're in a line, everyone's like, Wolves away is great, because you've got a whole line with everything. Yeah, when you're all on top of it, City's the same. When you're like that, you can't get the atmosphere as well as you can with loads around each other. And, that makes it, that mentality you've got in those games makes it easier to get on. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody's screaming and shouting at each other as loud as they can. Same as what you saw against Forest. I don't think it's wrong to suggest that everybody's there's two stands and like quite lengthy through, let's say, half a side of where the goal is there, and you're behind the goal. Doing that feels like you're getting an atmosphere more than when you're at Goodison and you've got 9/10 of the entire stadium with all our fans there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go as far as say it's a massive concern. But you see those away games and you think, do you know what? Is it that hard to actually go the same at home at Goodison? Because that serve is a hell of a lot better than the assumption that it's a home that we are going to be really good anyway, if you get what I mean.
But do you mean in terms of the crowd or the team?
The crowd, but obviously that's the old argument, isn't it? That the fans feed off the team or the teams feed off the fans type of thing. I think it's very much the former. What we certainly saw at Forest, you've seen everyone. You see Seamus as well, the video Seamus.
Yeah.
Running over, absolutely knocking fuck out of him. He could have injured himself there.
Yeah.
He does that. If you replicate that at Goodison, I think we're absolutely fine. The funny thing is, I don't know I've seen a team who do it in the opposite way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have everybody. Yeah, you think you go to Luton, you think you go to Sheffield United, who are about to sack their manager. You still go to them. You've been battered at home. Burnley with company. Their home games, the atmosphere is going to be rocking. But ours seems like it does that automatically away. But at home, it feels a lot more tense and people aren't doing what we used to do when we were in these sorts of situations.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a hangover from like the type of club that we are. Old Trafford's the same. Anfield's the same. Regardless of what they tell you about the atmosphere there, it's not much.
Right, and it's the automatic like
and it's
cliche, isn't it?
Yeah, we are similarly supported clubs. When you've got like I've been down to Brighton and they were singing a lot when we were there, that like the whole like three sides of the ground and stuff. We just never get that, and we very rarely do. I don't know. I just think it's a hangover of sort of our support base, really, and just the way that we are. So, yeah, it's really tough to put your finger on it. But I always put this down to the players as well. I think it's definitely on the players to get the crowd up for the game.
Yeah.
Players set the tempo, not the crowd, for me.
But then with that again, mate, it's a really interesting argument we could bang on about for days, because you think it's the players, but then the way in which we play would be really difficult to get fans on board with it, if you get what I mean. Because like that fella, just the mentality of that fella who said to me, I don't want to go back. You've got to buy that some way with the players, have you not?
Yeah,
so it's probably a bit of both in many ways. Where me and you are debating it, and you're on a different side to I am. It's hard to say that anybody's wrong in it.
Yeah,
but you know what you're saying there is like those 11 have gone out there. If they've put on a good performance, it's what your managers told them to do. Like, i.e., Forest. Bad example because we dominated with the ball. But the majority of games, that those players go out and they're like, okay, we'll put the team out in blocks. You know, you're not bothered about the centre half playing between, the back of the centre circle and the front of the D.
Yeah,
they can't go between that. That's hard to watch. It's hard to take. So crowds are therefore, like that fella I keep referring to, are going to be like, we're at home. Why aren't we the side that takes everything forward? When that time is, well, if you do that against any half decent side, they're going to rip us apart. Like that Brighton game, which we nearly got away with by playing in the way in which I've just mentioned there from Dyche.
Yeah, I just think it's like I've said it a lot of times that we are.
You'd have already got off.
What's that?
You'd have already got off.
Oh God, yeah. I think past 75 minutes, I'm done, mate. Yeah, I've always said like we are like quite a basic fan base for me, and if players do, it goes back to the Stracqualesi thing. He wasn't very good, but he tried and he ran around a lot and he made things happen occasionally. And I just think if players have just got that as the baseline, a lot of people will be happy. And then that could generate an atmosphere. It's down to like, against United, we were probably the better side in the first half. Just didn't score. But there was no like incidents to get the crowd up for it, was there?
Yeah.
Before they slot that, we're all up in the air, and we probably are for the next 10 minutes, and the atmosphere gets going, and then the players will feed off that. So it is that sort of symbiotic thing, isn't it? But I just think to get us up for it, it is just like cracking into tackles chasing players down, getting shots off, stuff like that. Just basic stuff to get us a little bit like not riled, but into it. It's the referee's job then to get us riled by giving shit decisions.
Yeah.
That's another thing, isn't it? When that happens. So yeah, I think we will be up for the first bit of first 10 minutes as ever against Newcastle. But I think it's definitely on the players to make sure Newcastle can't settle, and then the crowd will feed off that and just kick Anthony Gordon. That'll get everyone for it.
Just do it, not get sent off.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it just looked like he was going to happen the other day as well, didn't it? Ashley Young was going to get sent off again.
Yeah.
It keeps looking like it when
someone charges past him.
Yeah, someone charges past him all the time because he's not as quick as them, most of them, and he still puts his foot out rather than trying to get back and track back. It's like, I need to bring him down. Most of the time you're fine when you've got 5 minutes left and you take a yellow card all day.
Yeah.
He does it after 5 minutes, mate. You're like, getting yourself 90 minutes. We'll move on to sort of finish up the show now, which is what Matt likes to do every week, your moments of the weekend. I think, because what you mentioned just before we started, it was a refereeing decision, which we'll both go through, but mine's actually in the same game as that as well, and it was City against Spurs. You were talking about a certain referee decision I think everybody's talking about, and how it come to pass, and how this fella who was the ref seems to have got away with it since. Because yes, there's been a lot of talk and debate about it, and it's been shown a million times more on like the likes of Match of the Day and on Sky, where they're saying he actually is heard in his microphone, he's heard that you've got to pull it back. Just refer to what you're on about.
Oh, it was the decision at the end of the City game, where Haaland's fouled, isn't he? But gets up straight away, fair play to him, and knocks an absolute lovely ball, chips it through to Jack Grealish, who bursts through. I'm not convinced Grealish would have scored. I think the defender,
the fella's catching up to him.
The defender was right on him there, and he's not the quickest. So I think it wasn't a certain goal. On the face of it, he was 1-on-1, but that defender was catching him up. But yeah, for the referee he definitely played advantage. As soon as Haaland got up and played that ball, he does that and plays the advantage, puts his arms out, and then whistles. And it's like, I don't buy into the whole the corruption thing and the fact that the fixing results in that. I can't really see it. But when you look at things like that, it's like, well, what's the explanation for that? Because you play an advantage. They've got the advantage. You don't then blow up. That never happens. And it's like, where did that come from? What was that about? It was just nuts. As I say, I'm not entirely convinced Grealish would have scored. But for the referee to blow up,
you should be entitled to have he should be entitled to carry on.
Yeah, it reminds me of Clive Thomas in the '78 World Cup, where Brazil are playing Sweden and it's 1-1, and the corner comes in, and a Brazilian player goes to head it. He blows the full-time whistle. The Brazilian player heads it. He wins 2-1, but he's already blown up for full time.
Oh my word!
It's that kind of thing. It's a really weird decision, and it's like, in that case, you can look at that and think that's Clive Thomas grandstanding because he was a dick. In this case, it's like, I just don't get it. And unless, as people have said, I think Dan Bain said this on Twitter, like, it's the chairman of the Premier League did say we do need different champions on the regular. So
yeah, I mean, you're right. That I think this is the thing I was going to say to you straight away, is that sort of thing can define seasons.
Yeah.
You look at how close, by the way, the top six is. Sadly, we're not involved in it, but it should be a cracker over summer, over the winter, all the different games. And when we get into mid-January, we're like, if it's still like this, I'll be buzzing. Obviously, with the shite not involved.
Yeah.
But I don't even want to talk about the goals that were scored in their game as well, by the way.
No, nor do I.
How bad did you feel about Marco as well? He just can't get a break at Anfield, can he?
Not at all.
Twice he's been there, he's conceded 9 goals, 5-2 against us and 4 against them. But anyway, just going back to what you said there, I think when Haaland's fouled, the thing that gets me about it is, how are you not assured by how long it takes? Because we're not talking about where he's it's sprinted real quickly, because when Haaland gets up, he's had the right amount of seconds, or an adequate amount of seconds, to think, yeah, I can let that go. And he does. He does. Haaland gets up. Haaland could have stayed down to get the free kick. He didn't. He gets up, plays that lovely ball through to Grealish. I don't disagree with you here, but you were right about, I don't think he'd have scored here, but that's not in this.
That's not the point, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. He's got the chance. That's it. It's a goal scoring opportunity. But I do think you're right. I think they'll have to caught him anyway. But that's by the by. When that ball goes through and he's through on goal, that should make it even easier for the referee to just say, "I've made the correct decision here." Not that I'm bothered if he scores, but the reason why I don't put up blow the whistle for a foul here is because he's had a chance, and he did have a chance regardless of what you say. And
well,
when he gets
for a
up,
referee, that's the equivalent to scoring a goal.
No, exactly.
Making a decision that's that good, which it was, and the attacking team have set up an attack because you've let the play go on. That's like high five yourself at the end of the game. That's like, that was brilliant from me.
But the other side of that, Les, is with when I seen it as well in real time before the replay, I was thinking might be offside there as well. You take the linesman out of it as well, and you're like, just let it play out, because in general, if this wasn't a goal scoring opportunity, and it was this exact position at a different point in the pitch, if he goes through and doesn't score because he's got a goal scoring opportunity, then you blow it back and say free kick. He should be entitled to carry that play on, because that's what advantage is.
Yeah.
It's like that double jeopardy rule thing, isn't it? And then when he brings it back, everyone's seething. And he's again, mate, it's every single week we're getting these ridiculous decisions in games. And I'm past knowing how you'd even go about solving it here, because Howard Webb just looks like he's sitting off somewhere with Farhad Mashiri and just having a cigar, not being asked about what's going on. But mine, my sort of spot of the weekend, same game as well, and it was Kulusevski scoring that header. It's a peach of a header that not many have spoken about. He gets up there. That Ake should be making a challenge with him. It's that type of goal where you've got a defender on the back foot and they can't sprint alongside it and get a higher jump than you. Ball comes in and he just goes right through the middle and pings it into the bottom of that bar. Better goals always look like they've gone in by the crossbar.
Yeah.
But more so, that player, I think, I want people to debate this with me, but I think he's one of the best players who'll play as a right midfielder / right winger. I think he's outstanding. He seems to have everything you need. The sort of the hunger that he's got straight away. He's desperate to run at players. He's desperate to get involved in absolutely everything. And he's certainly one of Spurs' best players. I know they'll bang on about Maddison being injured and other players that they've got, but I think he's a top-class player. Was it Juve that he got him from?
That's where he got him.
So I love watching him. I actually love watching Spurs, to be honest, because Ryan, who listens to us, has been Ryan the Aussie, who hasn't been on for a while. He's a massive part of what we do. He's always banged on for years about Postecoglou all the time. And I don't know, I was half saying the truth and half just trying to piss him off, but I was like, never going to cut it when he comes to the Premier League. Done great at Chelsea, but so could all of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, anyone's kid could go and do a decent job and win the league with Celtic. And he was just irate with me all the time. I know when he came in at Spurs and he had that great start to the season with 4 or 5 points clear at the top. He's like, I told you about it. I told all you about it. And I feel like messaging him now saying, look, they fucked up now. They'll struggle to get in the top 4. But yeah, I really like seeing what Spurs do. I like what he's doing as well. He's just coming out and saying, not really too asked about the results, because the reason why we were at the top so early is because of the way I play. And they're a good side to watch. I'm not sure when we have, obviously not the rest of this year, but we have to visit.
We've got away on Christmas Eve. Got them.
What?
December 23rd, Spurs away.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say to you, we haven't got it till the summer or something like that.
No, after the Fulham game, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that run just either side of Christmas and Spurs away and City at home. That'll be fun.
Yeah. And fucking hell. And the second one to talk about is Man United with the issue that they seem to have with Rashford. Don't know if you watched the post match of that game the other night when they were playing Newcastle away, and they had Keane come on. I think he's great value anyway. They had Keane, Michael Richards, who I don't really rate as anybody. He just tries to have a laugh. I think that's why they get him on.
Yeah,
and Carragher as well. And they were talking about this, and Keane started fuming about Rashford, saying that he's got the success everyone wants. He's been England's regular forward. I know he's not now because he's been off it, but also he seems like he doesn't give a shit. He said because if he doesn't score, he doesn't get a touch in the third part of the box. He's just not asked. He doesn't run back, and so he starts banging on about it. He mentioned Kanchelskis about this. He said Fergie initially had us. He didn't care if we scored initially. It was like as soon as you don't score, as soon as you lose the ball, first thing in your head should be run back. Run back now. We have this sort of problem myself. What we were talking about Harrison, ironically, and the way our left and right wingers didn't do it so much. And I thought he was bang on when he said that. But you look at someone like Rashford there, they showed a video of him after it where they've read what he was saying, and he sort of seemed to say, like, what the fuck am I doing here? And I think Man United are really funny to watch, because they're the type, if you'd have a little flutter of a weekend, you'd never back a game they were in. Because, they came to us, beat us 3-0 and scored the goal of the season. But, yeah, you could see them going to a side like Sheffield United and losing it. So that's on the weekend. I thought that was really interesting, and obviously it was our man Gordon, or our not man Gordon, who scored the goal as well, mate. So all the more reason to snap him in half.
He's a funny player, Rashford. He's sort of he's done it in sort of patches, hasn't he? Sometimes
feels like he's been shit for years, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think he had like a really good spell around. Was it the Euros?
Yeah.
Sort of before and after that. I think he kind of peaked, and he's never. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like him next to Kane, wasn't it? Him and Kane.
I've never worked out what sort of a player he is. The thing with tracking backers as well, I think that's fine for some players, but there are certain players who you just think just leave them up. Just your bit is up there. I think that's something a lot of managers can get hung up on. I know you need it from your team. Everyone needs to work, but there are some players saying about Mikalenko simplifying his game, attacking players the same sometimes.
Yeah.
If they're just really good at attacking and they're not very good at tracking back, don't kind of make them. I was watching Terry Venables' documentary the other day, and there was a lad he had at Palace early on when he joined there, and he basically said to him, right, when you get the ball, just go up front, and then he'd go to the rest of the team and do the rest of the tactics with them. This player was like, he never spoke tactics with me because he didn't want me to get involved because he knew it. It was just like, the way you've got with like Elise now, maybe you could just say to him, like, just go out and run with it. Just do what you want to do. You're not going to tell him, oh yeah, right, I want you tracking back. It's that sort of thing for me. So, but I haven't said that. I don't think Rashford's got the skill to be afforded that sort of. He's the sort of player who's got to track back.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. And that what you mentioned there about fitting actually to talk about Venables, because when I heard that he passed away, I was really sad about that because he was a proper old school manager, and everyone we got on Five Live, some of the former players I spoke to and all that, just couldn't have more of a positive say about him. And they said nobody realised how good he was tactically. That's why he had the England job.
Yeah.
When you think back to a lot of people thinking, I just got given it because he's just some Cockney lad there that's a manager, just get him in. But there was actually like the mentality he had behind that. He was a really good. Alan Shearer said it all. He said he was just a fantastic fella, but knew exactly what he was doing and how football managers worked. And it's sad that he's gone in. But like you just said there, you don't see that old school sort of thing where you've got a manager that says, right, lad, you're a striker, stay there being a striker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's interesting that's what he used to have back in the day, but you don't see enough of it these days.
I'll still never forgive poaching Gary Lineker.
What's that?
I'll still never forgive him for poaching Gary Lineker.
Always a Barca for that. Did he get him a Barca?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he got him back at Spurs as well, didn't he? Yeah. I didn't fancy listening to him what he said about Venables, but it was really nice all the same. Anyway, that's the end of I keep on going to say Monday Blues, but it's definitely Blue Monday because we actually went away. We won a game. Us away from home are on fire. It needs to be sorted at Goodison. You do that at Goodison, 10 points don't matter. And we won't be talking about 10 points. We didn't mention it a couple of times here, Les, so I think we've had a bit of success not mentioning it. But yeah, Matt will be back, I think, next week. But, everybody's going to praise Les because, I said that you're better than Les at the start. I'll go back and say that, pretty 50-50, do you know what I mean? And
I'll take that all day.
But we all love the bones of Matt and can't wait to hear him. He'll be doing loads this week as well, including the preview against Newcastle. Be interested to see what's going on there. And yeah, we'll be back with post-match and an early weekly as well throughout the week. And we'll speak to you then. Up the toffees.